Hey friends, welcome to Leading from Wholeness. I'm Audrey Shelby, a wife, mother, leader, and child of God. I'm here to let you know that your call to leadership was not a mistake. Fear and anxiety don't have to run your life. You have been called by God to lead right where you are. We'll talk about leading with authenticity and power, overcoming barriers that keep us stuck and get in the way of us being effective leaders, and truly rising to the call that God has for us. With tactical strategies such as prayer and reading God's Word, we're going to go deep and grow closer to God. You can lead from a place of freedom and purpose. So grab your journal and your hot chocolate and let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leading from Wholeness podcast. I'm your host, Audrey Shelby. I'm so excited about my guest today. It's my wonderful husband, Brandon Shelby. Brandon, say hi to the people.
Hey, boo. Hey, people.
Oh my goodness. So today we are going to talk about obedience in action, trusting God with your leadership. And so we're going to dive into it. But Brandon, I want you to share just a little bit about yourself. Wherever you kind of want to start. We're talking about obedience today. So wherever you want to introduce yourself, we could do that.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Brandon Shelby here. I'm born and raised and grew up in Orange County, California. Married to my beautiful wife, going on 12 years now. 14 years together.
Yes.
So it's such a blessing. And we have two beautiful daughters and raising a family in this season. And, I'm a professional in human resources. I also am an author, published author, like my wife here. And just excited to get into this conversation about obedience and how we walk that out with Christ. I've been walking with Jesus a long time. I grew up in church. I'll get into some of that later. But yeah, babe, I'm excited.
Okay. So when we think about obedience, I did a pod. It's episode number 2. I'll link it in the show notes. But there we talked about, how do we lead at our full capacity? And part of one of the strategies is starting our day with God, like starting our day with prayer, and then recognizing that once we start really spending time with God, seeking after Him, expect Him to actually respond and to speak back to us, and then to be obedient to what He's called us to do, right? Mm-hmm. And so as I think about obedience, I think oftentimes we can, we're human, we can be fearful. Like there's so many times in the Bible where an angel appeared before somebody and they say, fear not, right? Like, don't be afraid, right? So we can be fearful. I myself can be very trepidatious. Like I will listen to the Lord and I have like 20 questions. Like literally we're like, well, Lord, where are we going? I know you said go left, but what's going to happen when we get there? Like that, and you're laughing. That is me, right? So tell us about, what does obedience mean to you and what does it look like? Also understanding that obedience is going to look different over time. The more we walk with God, the more we spend time in prayer, the more we read our Bible and learn more, the more God is revealed to us, our obedience is going to look different over time. But what does it mean for you?
Well, I think the core of obedience, and this is just coming to me by the Holy Spirit, the core of obedience comes by way of restoration. So what I mean by that is we are all sinners. Yeah. And we are not perfect. No. I'm not perfect. Audrey's not perfect.
Not at all.
Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. And we will continue to make mistakes. The core factor in this equation is Jesus Christ and His ability to restore us back to the Father, that being God. And I wanted to start there because I want to encourage everyone to know that we all have access to Jesus and we all have the ability to be restored and become whole. It doesn't mean you're going to be immediately whole and have it all together as you walk with Christ and you start this faith and obedience walk, because that comes with time. Every day you're putting in that effort and He'll meet you where you are, no matter where that is. So I want to start there with restoration. The second piece of that, obedience, is much like, you know when you get those instructions, you got this new game, and you got these pieces you got to put together.
Right.
But in that game, you have instructions that you need to pull out.
That you don't typically read.
Are you shooting? Wait,
no, I'm not.
wait,
So here's the thing. I love my husband, and it will be stuff like, you buy the kids toys, or
That's what we're
buy.
doing.
We gonna do it. We gonna be real with the people. Or you're putting together an appliance or something. My husband will open the box, pull out all the pieces, and then proceed to assemble them without reading any instructions.
Now listen.
Now go ahead. I want you to finish your analogy.
It feels kind of judgy-budgy the way you just said that.
It got a little judgy. It got a little judgy on it. Okay. It was more confirming. I was confirming what you were confirming? Saying.
Oh, I can't wait to confirm. I can't wait to confirm some stuff. Okay. So.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Finish your story.
True. What I was getting to is you open the box, you bypass the instructions, you just start putting stuff together, right? Rather than, and you might find out once you get further down the line, you're missing a piece, or you failed to put in that washer or that nut that goes to that screw that will enable the toy or the project to work effectively. And I liken that a lot to how we walk with God oftentimes, right? And even if you don't or haven't yet, you may have started something without looking at his instructions or listening for his direction and instructions. And I'm guilty of that. My wife just said that, right?
So am I.
I didn't follow those instructions outright. I mean, I can give a ton of examples over my life where the Lord may have said, don't do this, or don't do that, don't purchase this, or don't go there, don't go here. And those are warning signs, or his flashing red lights to say, hey, I'm trying to get your attention, but you speed right past that stop sign, or yield to gain more understanding. And I think that in our walk with God, that is something that you just build up more endurance and understanding to really, really hear from him on a daily basis. And like I said, I'm guilty of it. I'm still working and learning on how to be more perfected in him, in listening to him. And I've gotten better. However, there's still work yet to do that I need to perfect in that area, because obedience starts with listening, and then the second piece, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, is the follow through, what that looks like.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that. I was thinking about, the story of, I've shared this before, of, I was driving in a car and I was going to get my hair done, and God said to me, I was supposed to make a left turn and the light was green, and God said to me, wait. And my response to him was, but no one is coming, right? And so then I proceed to make a left turn, and then I'm hit by a pickup truck that I didn't see, right? And so it's like, with that, my response was reluctancy. I was going by what I could see. I don't see a car here. I hear you say wait. And mind you, that was my first time really that I can remember hearing God audibly. And it was like, but why? Like, why am I waiting? I don't see anything, right? And so for me, it was reluctance. Like, has there been a time where you heard clearly from God to do something and you were reluctant? What did that look like?
Yeah, it was definitely a time. There's multiple times, but one in particular had a work event, dinner I had to go to when I was working for a company in San Bernardino. And at the time we lived in Riverside, and that particular day it was raining. And
I remember the story.
And
okay.
I had, I just had a lot going on that day, and I wasn't really feeling going to the dinner. It wasn't required, and I say that loosely, but it was, expected, because we had executives in town, and but they already told me you don't necessarily need to come.
It's a good to do.
Like, it's a good to do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to make you look good to the executives for you to show up.
Correct.
And you all know what that is in leadership. Sometimes it's like, it's the unsaid thing. Like, oh, we're having this function. Yeah. You don't have to come, but it looks better if you show up. It looks better if
you show up.
Yeah.
And I'm in management at the time, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to go, but I'm going to go. And then I kept feeling like I shouldn't go, and I really shouldn't take that trip. But I pressed on anyway. Got on. It was the 215 to the 10 freeway, and there was a little curb, and it was wet. And what ended up happening was my car started fishtailing, and I drove into an embankment. A bunch of trees, got my car stuck, totaled my vehicle completely. Single car accident. Ended up hitting one of those poles as you kind of see going into on ramps and off ramps on the freeway. I wasn't hurt. Airbags weren't deployed. But I totaled my vehicle, had to get it towed. I ended up calling them saying, hey, I just got in a car accident. I'm not going to make it. So that was the Lord clearly telling me, you don't need to go.
You don't need to go.
But I didn't heed his direction because I was thinking about what are they going to perceive if I don't show up? They being management or my coworkers or colleagues or my direct manager or fellow team managers. What are they going to think if I don't show up? I need to show face for them, but who am I trying to prove something to? If God gave me this job and this position, which he did, if he put me in position to be there, he's going to cover me regardless for the season that I'm there. Right? And
Right.
there was even another instance.
Well, can I comment on this one before we get to the next one?
Yeah.
So this is also make me think of like sometimes the instruction is to rest.
Yes. Right.
And in that moment, though you wanted to go, because here's the thing. I remember this whole situation now. Mind you, we had just had our first child and she was a baby. So she was maybe like 6 months old. You know, Brandon left the house. Where he was going was very close to the house. So it was maybe 10 minutes later. And he's calling me and I'm like, this is weird, you know, that he's calling because you just left the house. Maybe he forgot something. And he's telling me he got into an accident. Now, mind you, we had a whole conversation back and forth in the house. Babe, I don't think I want to go. And I really don't feel like going and I'm tired. And I said to him, well, why don't you just stay? I think it's okay. And so we had this whole conversation. Sometimes the instruction is to rest.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's so hard for us to rest because we feel like if we're resting, we're not doing something.
Right.
Somehow we are lazy. Somehow we are slacking. And it simply is not true. Like God knows what we need intrinsically, right? So not just what we need in our mental, because we talk about, you know, praying and asking God to give us strategy, but also what we need physically. Like rest is a commandment, right? On the seventh day, God rested and everything. He saw that everything was good, right? And so sometimes rest is that's the command.
Right.
And when we are, unfortunately, it's disobedience. I think we don't want to look at it this way.
It is.
But your car accident, my car accident was both being disobedient and not heeding to wait.
Correct.
You know, or in your case, stay home.
Right.
You were going to share a different example.
Well, two examples where I as the man, right, and talking to my men out there, we thinking that we need to be the providers, the protectors, the provisioners, right? In this season right now, I am the steward. I'm the shepherd. And I'll explain that in just a second. But in particular, when you talk about obedience, coming into our marriage, I'll give this first example. Before we got married, I was working in a nonprofit organization, doing well. I'd been there for 3.5 years, and then met my wife, proposed to my wife, and like, oh, we about to get married. We got to get excited. I was like, I need to make some more money because I'm working at a nonprofit. You know, my wife at that time was making more than me, which was a blessing. And let me put a pin in that too. I have no ego about my wife making more money. As a matter of fact, I encourage her to make more money than me.
He wants me to retire him.
Listen, we're about to support Paralysis Ministries moving forward. But no. So at the time, I had, always have a strong network of peers and reached out to a peer of mine who worked for a staffing agency. And that staffing agency was hiring. I was looking for an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so I applied, pursued it, jumped through multiple hoops to get the job, roughly 9 to 10 interviews. Now looking back on it, that was God saying, yeah, don't do this. But went on and got the job anyway, accepted the position, was there for maybe 4 to 5 months, babe. And
I think so.
Literally 2 weeks before my wedding, they let me go. And it wasn't due to anything I did. It was just their metrics or measurements. It's a sales organization. So I wasn't cutting the mustard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that happens. But God, in His infinite wisdom and provision, still provided me with another opportunity where I was able to get into corporate recruiting, where I needed to be in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But had I waited and been obedient with what God gave me at that time, at that nonprofit, to just show myself approved there until He elevated me to the position where He was going to put me in anyway, it would have come to pass. And I think a lot of times we want to speed up God's process.
Oh, yeah. Say that again.
I'll say it again. We want to speed up God's process. We think, oh, He's moving a little too slow. So let me go ahead and manufacture this new thing that I know He has in store for me because He planted it in my mind and my heart. And the word says if I ask anything in His name, He'll bring it to pass. Well, that's a caveat to that. You have to be in His will. In His perfect will.
True.
And you have to do what He's called you to do. I think in 1 Samuel, the Old Testament, 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22 says, "But Samuel replied, 'What is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to His voice?'" Your obedience to His voice. And that's what I'm learning more in this season than anything else. When God speaks, and for me, not to be so esoteric or spiritual, but for me, He speaks to me audibly, like in real time. So, like literally, He'll tell me to go get some gas, and I'll have to go stop and go get some gas, or He'll tell me to go help this person, and I'll go help that person. And it's just being attuned like you would if you're listening to the radio or you listen to your favorite podcast, like this one. Like you're getting gems and tools that will enable you to continue on in this walk. And it's an everyday thing. As long as we have breath in our lungs and the ability to walk with God, obedience causes us to be in alignment with Him. And alignment causes us to have a specific direction and what's the word I'm looking for, babe?
Guidance?
Consistency.
Oh, consistency.
Consistency in His word, in prayer, and in quiet time with Him.
So I love that you said that. And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with being spiritual, right? We're talking about obedience to God. Mm-hmm. That is spiritual. Right. You know what I mean? You said something earlier, I want to go back to it, about discipline, mm-hmm. right? So here's the thing. So for me, I feel like I'm getting to a place where I'd rather be obedient than not. Like I'd rather be obedient than having to come back and say, "Oh God, I'm sorry I didn't do this." Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I don't always, sometimes I miss the mark. And I think oftentimes when we talk about obedience, listening to God's voice, we can get tripped up with doubting and this idea of like, oh, well, God told you to do something and you're not listening and you're doubting Him and you're asking questions. And I also think that there is, in some ways, that happens, right? And I don't think that we need to, like, don't condemn ourselves, but I think it's also a place of, well, let's recognize why we're doubting, right? Like we talk about doubting Thomas all the time in the Bible. And for those of you who don't know the story, after Jesus had died, He was crucified. They bury Him in the tomb. He is raised on the third day. And He comes to the disciples after He was raised from the dead. And all the disciples see Him, but Thomas is not there, right? Mm-hmm. And so the disciples are excited. They're telling Thomas like, oh, the Lord is back. Jesus is here. He was with us. And Thomas is like, oh, I don't believe it. Like he even says like, I won't believe it until I can actually touch the holes in His hands where they nailed Him, right, to the cross. So fast forward, and this is my version, right? I can find the scriptures. I'll put it in the show notes. But fast forward, Thomas sees Jesus. And then he recognized like, oh, like it really is Him. So here, I'll read it. We're in the book of John, chapter 20. And this is verse 26. It says, 8 days later, His disciples were inside again, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then He said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands, and put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not disbelieve, but believe." Thomas answered Him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. So we give Thomas a hard rap because he didn't believe, but Thomas would go on to spread the gospel all over the world, right? So I'm reading my, I'm not reading my leadership Bible today. I'm reading from the Jeremiah Study Bible, which is really good. It's in the English Standard Version, and I love the commentary. And so in the commentary it says this: Thomas went on to serve God. He preached Jesus in India and was killed by a spear in his back. The church is there today because of this man who asks questions, right? So was Thomas a doubter? Not really. It says believers who ask a question and then bore much fruit. Absolutely. So even though Thomas doubted, he believed God, right? And though he felt like he needed to see it, he still went on and did marvelous things for the kingdom. And so I say that to you to say, if you are a person that doubts like Thomas did, and you ask a bunch of questions like I do, it doesn't mean that somehow you don't believe God, but it also is a part about surrender, right? I think it's more about surrender than it is speaking to our faith. Like, oh, you don't have faith. No, we may not be surrendered to God fully, right? And so surrender is really trusting that Jesus, yes, he's my savior, right? Going back to what my husband said, yes, he restores us. He is our savior. And also, is he the Lord of your life? Meaning, he runs the show. Does he run the show in your life? And for me, like right now, the season I'm in, it is about surrender. Fully surrender. Stop asking 20,000 questions, Audrey, and just do the thing that God told you to do, right?
I love that you mentioned faith. According to Webster's AI, it says the real meaning of faith is deep, active trust and confidence in someone or something, especially in God, even without complete proof, involving a commitment to an act, that belief, not just a mental agreement. I love the part where it says active trust and confidence, because it's active verb. Like you're walking this thing out,
Right.
Like it's
Right.
You're not just, it's not just lip service. If I could say
Correct.
that.
It's something we're doing daily.
Yeah, the act of obedience and having faith in God and walking with Him and listening to Him. It's something we're doing on a daily basis, and you're not going to get it right all the time.
No.
And that's okay. God understands our faults. He understands our shortcomings. He understands where we have our strengths and our weaknesses. And in this obedience and faith walk, He gives us that space to learn and grow.
Right.
That's where we start building our endurance.
And that's what
in Him.
I appreciate you, because that's what I'm trying to get to in terms of the doubting and asking questions. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Right. And so a part of the journey, it will be asking questions. And me, naturally, I'm very inquisitive. Like, I ask a lot of questions. I'm looking at you now. I ask a lot of questions about everything, and it gets on my husband's nerves sometimes, and that's okay. He loves me anyway.
No, never gets on my nerves.
But I do the same thing with God. I'll ask a bunch of questions, and what I'm learning in the season is it's not. It is what read the definition again, because you said it. There was a word you said that connected with what I was thinking. What was it again?
The real meaning of faith is a deep act of trust and confidence in someone or something, especially God.
Okay, confidence.
Yeah.
Right? So the more and more I have confidence that God is going to take care of me, the more and more I have confidence that I can trust God, the less I should ask questions.
Yeah,
so we're working on it. I'm getting I'm getting there.
Of that, how do you build confidence in God? Or how has it been built?
Well, I'll say this. I think you build confidence in God the way you build confidence in people, right? So the more and more you are in relationship with somebody, the more and more you spend time with them, the more and more you can build trust with them, then you become reliant on them, right? So like my husband, for example, like he said, we've been together for 14 years, married for 12. So if my husband tells me he's going to do something, depending on what it is, I'm like, he got it. Some stuff I know, okay, he got it, and I may need to remind him, but that's okay, right? But I built up confidence with my husband over all of these years. Right. It's the same thing with God. The more and more we spend time with Him, the more and more we read our Bibles and learn about who He is, His character, what He does, how He loves us, how He has chosen us, the more and more we learn the truth of who He is, it will build up our confidence. I love that definition. It will build up our confidence in him so that when he tells us to do something, we're more attuned to just go, right? And said, well, no, I don't know. And well, God, what do you mean? Go talk to this person. So it's like you said, it's a part of the relationship, and it absolutely comes with time.
So confidence also comes by way of evidence.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what that means is God has already shown before that he has come through for us and on our behalf in many different instances.
That's good.
For example,
That's good.
I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer back in 2023.
I was going to go there. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer back in 2023. Prior to that, 2022, 2021, I had unexplained weight loss, pain in my stomach.
Just 22.
Throwing up. Yeah, 2022, excuse me. Going to the doctor, but not really getting any direction or indication on what was actually the root issue. I'd always go to urgent care, but then they would send me home with coping the symptoms, but not really getting to the root cause of the issue, right? And it wasn't until my wife was like, we need to go get a second opinion. God told her, we need to go get a second opinion. So I went to another hospital, and that hospital happened to further diagnose me with my illness, right? And I called my wife that Thursday evening, let her know, hey, good thing is they've identified what it is. Bad thing, I'm not coming home tonight. And that started my healing journey, rid of stage 3 colon cancer, which was all localized. I was hospitalized for 11 days, lost a ton of weight, but they got it out. They took out part of my colon, and they took the actual tumor out. And go ahead, you can say something.
So, but here's the thing. So he gave you like the Fast and Furious version,
Fast
right?
Furious, yeah.
So, he goes to the hospital. They say, we're going to keep you, right? Basically, we're going to keep you. So when he calls me, I think he's calling me to tell me, he's on his way home. And he's like, no, I'm not coming home. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, oh, they admitted me. They found a mass. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do I do? I was home with our children, reached out to my cousin, and I said, hey, can you come in the morning and just come watch the kids for the day? And I need to get to the hospital. Brandon's in the hospital. So we get to the hospital. I'm talking to the surgeon. It's just a kind woman. And she looked at me very confidently and she said, Mrs. Shelby, I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, that your husband has cancer, but I won't know until we open him up. And so he's going to have surgery in the next couple days. And I just looked at her like, right. Ma'am, like, and she walked me through it, and she was like, don't worry. Like, we know how to do this. This is what we do, and it'll be fine. I've done this procedure before. It'll be fine. But the amount of panic that ran through my head, I can't even put it into words. So I would go into this routine of, I was able to get childcare secured, like maybe 35 minutes from our house, right? And my husband's an hour and 20 out in the hospital. So every day I would drop our kids off at school and then drive an hour and a half to the hospital to sit with my husband, right? I usually get there around 9 o'clock, stay with him till 1:30, right? And then drive back home, start dinner, get the kids, right? And this is our routine. And so I remember probably about the second or third night that he was in the hospital, I remember driving. It was late. I had to get him some clothes. And I am hysterical. Like, I'm literally like in hysterics, crying and sobbing, driving down the 605 freeway. And I can't breathe. Like, this is how badly I'm crying. And I'm talking to myself at this point. I'm telling myself, I'm like, Audrey, you have to calm down. Like, you're not going to make it to LA if you can't breathe. And so finally I get to the hospital and I'm having like this pep talk with myself in the parking lot. And it's very much like you just said, I said to myself, God has never failed you.
Right.
And though I don't understand how we get at age 41 to colon cancer,
Right.
but he's never failed you. And he's with you. And that's what helped me. Like, that's what helped me to keep it together. And I would run that routine for 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks, going to the hospital, getting the kids, going to the hospital, getting the kids, and just running. And thank God for our family and our friends who watched our children. Because after that, after the hospital stay, he had like a month of recovery, and then he started chemo, right, for 9 months. And so that idea of God's track record,
It's exactly.
right? It's like,
The confidence.
okay, right. It's like you haven't steered me wrong yet.
Yeah. No.
So let me remember your track record and I'll find the scripture. I'll put it in the notes. But in the Old Testament, it may be in the book of Deuteronomy. I don't know. I'll find it. But in the Old Testament, as God is preparing the children of Israel, He's already taken them out of Egypt. He's preparing them to go into the promised land. That's what he's preparing them for. He gives different instructions, right? One of the instructions he gives is remember me.
Yeah.
Remember what I've done. Remember that I am the God who rescued you from Pharaoh. Remember that I am the God who sustained you in the wilderness. And when we talk about obedience, we have to remember the things that God has already done for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though it looks bad,
Looks dire.
it looks bad.
Yeah.
We have to remember that he's faithful. Okay, so listen, I need you to tell them this story. And okay, remember, I think this is like the night before you went into the hospital. Remember you were praying about being sick.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, tell so oh
yeah.
yeah.
So I sped past all that, so I'm sorry, y'all. So but
Your perspective was different. It's okay.
It was
you
different.
didn't
So,
speed
yeah.
past anything.
Yeah, but let me just touch on what, because I'm even hearing now that story. I had never heard that before about her crying on the 605 freeway. Because by the time she got to me, she was like, "Hey, babe, how you doing?"
Oh, I had it together. Listen, ladies, you know how that is. When your husband's sick, you pull it together. You don't know where it comes from.
The Lord.
But listen, I pulled that thing together. My hair was done. I was dressed. I had a notepad and was ready to talk to all the doctors. You understand me? I brought snacks and food.
God is good. So, but I want to acknowledge, like, so it happened so fast, and they mentioned the C word, cancer. I didn't even have time to process it. You know what I mean? I didn't mentally. It happened so fast, and then I'm on this path of this healing journey. We're gonna have surgery, and then I'm gonna start chemo, and we're gonna define what that chemo process looks like for me, because everybody's different, right? And I want to speak to all my cancer survivors out there. Like, you have all you need to be successful and to persevere. Just stay calm. And that's where in Exodus 14:14, God says, the Lord himself will fight your battles. Just stay calm. And when I tell you, it was the night before my surgery, or even throughout my hospitalization, I never had fear. Like, and that's because of what my wife is about to say. Because the Lord prepared me even going into the hospital. Because I was in pain that Wednesday before, doubled down in my prayer closet, and I was like, God, I know you're going to heal me. But what am I supposed to gain out of this? There's got to be more than me just getting healed from whatever this is and me getting better. There has to be more to it than that. And in the stillness of our conversation, he said, dignity in long suffering.
I hope you enjoyed our discussion today on obedience. Me and my husband be cutting up. I just hope you enjoyed and had as much fun as we did. Check back for part 2. Would love to hear your comments and your thoughts. We will see you next time. If this episode blessed you today, please share it with a friend. Tag me on social at Audrey T. Shelby. I will see you back here again soon.